Perfect.
Hello guys, and welcome to another MK Mobile video. Today we have a very special episode because we're going to be talking about the matrix. I'm going to use onwards so that I can evaluate characters in MK Mobile. By the way, the first episode is coming in the next few days, so stay tuned. In this matrix, by the way, when I was creating it, I was trying to be as objective as possible, even though I know that it is not possible to be completely objective, but I try to be as objective as possible in certain situations. So without further ado, let me present the metrics I'm going to use so that I can rank and evaluate characters in MK Mobile. First of all, I'm giving 100 possible points, which are distributed in certain subgroups, and the first one is special attack, where the characters can get up to 34 points. The next one is the basic stats of the character, which can give up to 28 points. Passive is next, where it's, the most subjective factor is here because it's really hard to evaluate objectively the passive of a character. That is why I decided to give up to 20 points there. The next one is the basic attack speed and the ability to chain your basic attacks, which gives up to 10 points. Classes follows with 6 points. For each class that the character has, he obtains 1 point, so you can imagine a bounty hunter Aaron Black will get all the 6 points there. And the last one is the tag in attack. It's very simple. If a character has a tag in attack, he automatically gets 2 points. So this adds up to the total of 100 points, and I decided to put another 3 points outside of the regular ones. It's like extra points. The reason for that is because I wanted to put some points that are entirely subjective, and it's going to be like my view of the character, so whether I like it, whether I don't like it. But in general, those 3 points are not able to destroy the original evaluation of the character. So without further ado, let's start with the stats. When it comes to stats, I decided to give 28 points. I'm giving 6 points for attack, 6 points for hit points, 5 points for toughness, 4 points for recovery, and 7 points power generation. Of course, this is the maximum amount of points you can get for each one of those base stats. So let me explain to you why I decided to put only 4 points in recovery in the first place. Let's be real, guys, I don't think any of you consider recovery as something really important. To be honest, in the beginning I thought that 2 points would be fair there, but that wouldn't be very good for the characters with highest recovery stats, such as Kitana, for example. So I decided to give up to 4 points there, even though, to be honest, I literally don't care about recovery, like not one bit. Toughness doesn't get as many points as the other 3 basic stats, because in general I prefer to have always characters with higher HP than toughness, because toughness works only if it is higher than the attack, and if it isn't, then it's really worthless. Attack and HP, in my opinion, important, very important. They get up to 6 points, and power generation, the most important stats, again, in my opinion. That is why it gives 7 points. However, when it comes to point distribution, let me quickly explain to you how I'm going to calculate it. So, for instance, let's imagine that the highest attack of any character in the game has 100 attack, and that is the highest possible. There's only one character that has 100 attack. Obviously he's going to get the full 6 points. However, if we have a character that has 80, this is 80% of the maximum attack in the game. That is why he's going to get 80% of those 6 points. And the same thing applies for HP, for toughness, and for recovery, with the only exception for power generation, where I decided to give 3 points for all characters that has 1 or less 100% power generation. For those between 100 and 110, 4 points. For those between 110 and 125 points, and all the others with 137 points. More or less that's it when it comes to stats. So let's proceed with special attacks. Basically, when it comes to special attacks, you can get up to 12 points for special 1, up to 18 points on special 2, and up for only 4 points for X-ray. In my opinion, special 2 is the most important thing in a character. Not saying that a character can have crappy special 2 and very good special 1 to be effective, but in general I prefer having characters with good special 2s instead of characters with good special 1 and decent special 2. So this actually subgroup is divided in several factors which give some points. The first one, of course, when it comes to special 1, let's start with special 1. The first one is special 1 minimum and maximum damage. Then we're going to evaluate whether the special 1 is unblockable, or in other words, it can be a grapple, so block doesn't work against it. Then we're evaluating the buff or the debuff on the special attack, whether the special attack can be cast from anywhere. For example, the Scorpion Spear can be cast from anywhere, on some other grapples, for example, cannot, so you have to be careful, and it's always good to be able to cast your special attack from anywhere. The next one is whether the special attack is lethal. That's pretty important. Some special attacks are not lethal. Again, it's going to be Spear of Scorpion. For example, the grapple on the special attack 2 of Cryomancer Sub-Zero is still, we cannot provide lethal damage, I mean, you cannot kill the opponent. So we're going to evaluate that as well. And of course, the last one should be whether the special attack is, the damage of the special attack is dealt on only one attack. For example, such type of special attack is classic Liu Kang, special 2, when it's not in dragon form. In that situation, he deals all the damage in one hit, and some other characters, for example, like classic Raiden, deal the damage in like 10 or more hits. Why I believe that having the damage only in one hit is important is very simple, because it decreases the chance of the opponent triggering Revenant or Bone Shield, which, for example, if you try to use special 2 on Raiden when the opponent is almost dead, 100% his Revenant will be triggered, and that's not a good thing. And you can see some discrepancies between the points allocated for special 1 and special 2, especially when it comes to the buffs. In my opinion, it is always better to have a very good buff special 1 than having to special 2. Probably you agree with me that if you have regeneration special 1 to be extremely overpowered, and as well as having, for example, shield on special 1, again very overpowered. So in general, if you have a good debuff or buff on special 1, it's always better than having it on special 2. That is why you get a little bit more points on the buff and debuff section on special 1 rather than special 2. When it comes to being attack being unblockable, it is vice versa. Special 2 gets more points, and that's mainly because if you screw up a special 2, you lose 2 bars of power, and if you screw up special 1, you lose only 1 bar of power. And of course, the same goes. The special 2 can be cast from anywhere. It's always good to be able to deal a lot of damage, not worrying about the position of the opponent character. And the last subgroup here is the X-Ray. I decided to give only 4 points here, guys, because in general X-Rays are hardly ever used in battle, and except for specific team compositions. However, I gave 2 points for X-Ray can be cast from anywhere. Again, same reason with special 2, you don't want to lose 3 bars of power and deal 0 damage to the opponent. However, when it comes to damage, I mean, most of the time it's going to be deadly anyway, so it doesn't really matter. The buff and debuff can be very useful in X-Ray. For example, you have regeneration on X-Ray, it will regenerate the entire team, so that's very important. However, because of the fact that X-Rays are not very often used, I decided to give only 4 points here. The next one should be passive, and the passive gives up to 20 points, guys. I cannot really provide any objective matrix on how I'm going to give points here. It's going to be completely subjective. However, I'm going to be searching for let's say most broader usage of this passive ability. For example, if the passive ability just boosts one character in the game, that's not very great, and in general the usefulness of the passive will be very important. So I don't really care if a character is immune to curse. That will be very bad passive, because first, curse is not that great as a debuff, and second, not many characters has it. So if a character has is immune to curse, or let's say makes the entire team immune to curse, that's not going to be very useful. But in general, when it comes to passive, it's going to be subjective. The basic attack speed and chaining I decided to give 5 points, up to 5 points for characters, only for the speed of their basic attacks, and up to 5 points for the ability of character of chaining their basic attacks. You know for a fact there are characters that have very fast basic attacks, but when it comes to chaining abilities they cannot do that, because for one reason or another they don't push back the opponent character, or even if they do, they are very sloppy between combinations, so they can get hit by the opponent character. So up to 10 points when it comes to basic attacks. The classes are very self-explanatory. If you belong to one class you get 1 point, if you belong to 3 classes you get 3 points, and so on and so on. And the last thing should be tag in attack. Again, very self-explanatory. If a character has tag in attack, he gets 2 points. If he doesn't get any points. In general, guys, this is the matrix which I created. As you can see, it's extremely difficult to a character even to go over 80 points. So if you see a character with 70 points out of 100, this doesn't mean that he is a bad character. In general, if a character has over 80, this is an extremely good character. If a character has over 70, it's a very good character. If a character has over 60, he's a good character. And it's questionable whether the character is kinda good or decent or even bad if they score less than 60. But we're going to get into details on that later, when actually we start evaluating the characters. And by the way, one last thing, you can see on the top right corner of the screen, these 2 videos are very important because based on them I'm going to be giving points for buffs and debuffs on the special attacks. So you will know why, for example, I'm giving full amount of points if somebody has regeneration, and why I'm not giving the full amount of points if somebody has, for example, a speed on let's say their special 2 as a buff. Okay guys, so the next thing that will follow here will be the first ever character review. That's going to be on Combat Cup Sonya, so stay tuned, it is coming in the next few days. Take care guys, goodbye.